Hello, 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 people of the world. I am so excited to be making a video for you guys. I've missed you. I just want to come on here and talk to you guys about picking that one thing that you need to focus on, about arranging your schedule around Jesus, around what he has for you. Because this is harder than it looks. And a lot of us, we don't choose our day. We don't really cover it in protection. We don't really invite God into our day. We just kind of roll with the punches. We go with the flow, and whatever happens, happens. Cool. That's a fun attitude sometimes to have when you can't control things, but you can control what you think. You can control what your attitude will be for the day, what you're going to focus on for the day. So that's why I want to get into this topic. I have really good energy today. I have my coffee. This is the first coffee drink of the day. So that makes me happy because I haven't had enough caffeine yet. Not that I need caffeine, but I haven't had enough caffeine yet. That means I can drink another cup if I wanted to. You know what I mean? It's the little things. It's the little things in life that bring me joy. It's the little things in life that matter. It's the little things in life that create the big thing. So I just want to hop on here and encourage you guys to keep going. Do not give up on what God has assigned for you, okay? I know it can be tempting sometimes to just set it aside and leave it on the back burner and just go on with life, because life is filled with temporary satisfactions. It's filled with distractions, entertainment, and all of that, if we're not careful, will get in the way of our tasks and the things we're supposed to be working on if we're not careful. If we do not create our schedule, then the day will create it for us. And since the day is literally revolved around the world and the way the world operates, which is not the narrow way, right? You're just going to fall into that life of just being owned by your environment, being owned by your schedule, being a victim to your day, a victim to your calendar, a victim to everyone else around you. And you don't want that, because you can control some things in life. You can plan. You can sit down with God and just allow him to show you what he has for you, what he wants you to focus on, what he wants you to work on. And these things matter. They're important, and we can lose track of it. We can lose sight of that if we are just in a mode in our head of just indulgence and entertainment and sitting back and relaxing and falling more on the selfish scale, you know? Because when we're not in the habit of serving others, we can get really accustomed to having the spotlight on us, to just thinking about our own self-care like the world loves to advertise. And of course, taking care of yourself is important, and you need to, by the way, like first and foremost, but it shouldn't come in place of service. It shouldn't come in place of serving and honoring God, because all the things of the kingdom include God in the center, right? So if you want to have a kingdom life, a life where heaven is literally at hand, then you need to have God in the center of everything. And I have fallen prey to this too, where my schedule takes over, like my day will take over. What everyone else wants to do takes over. I end up people pleasing. I end up just not prioritizing what God's called me to do. I end up prioritizing what people around me tell me to do, you know? And yes, it's important to consider that, but not at the expense of what God has shown you already. And so creating that schedule with God is so good, so beneficial. And whenever your day tries to steal your attention away from you, which will happen, because the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. So when he comes to steal your attention, right, the most valuable currency there is, then you'll be more aware of that when that happens, when you're already focused, when you're already tuned into the Spirit and what God is having you do for the day. Because then it'll divert your attention for a bit. You're gonna know, oh wait, that's polar opposite of what I'm actually supposed to be working on, even though that could count as a productive task, and it's probably on my to-do list somewhere in the middle or bottom of the to-do list. However, that's the way the enemy will get you. It's just not an obvious distraction, but it's, hey, how about you do this instead? How about you do this instead? Where it can mask, right? It can mask as something that you need to do now. It can mask as productivity. It can give you that dopamine hit of, hey, I checked this off my list, even though that's not what God had you working on. Because God operates around his perfect timing. And so there is the right time to do different things. So if God's calling you to do a certain thing today, then you do that. If he's already given you a project to work on, and all of a sudden you are getting different offers for different projects to take on, and you know that if you take on that project, it'll take away your undivided attention from this project that God showed you, then the answer is no, even though those projects, they're good projects and they captivate your interest and you're good at that. It's right in your ballpark and you could use extra cash or whatever it is, right? But what God has you focused on is the priority. There is no negotiating with all the other things that look almost as good or even masquerade as this is as valuable. Because we need to be so discerning of what's actually satisfying the flesh versus our spirit. And since the devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy, everything he's going to use is to get you back into operating in your flesh. And it's going to satisfy your flesh. You're going to be more tempted to go for that immediate gratification, to go for that higher offer, to allow money to rule over you, to allow people pleasing to rule over you, to allow what other people think of you to rule over you. When we create our schedule and we are disciplined enough to look at it every day and know that, hey, this is what I'm working on today, then God can do so much in that time. And all of those other distractions can't even penetrate through this shield of force that you have over yourself, this protection you've put over yourself because you've given your time and your day to God. Ultimately, that's what he wants us to do every day. But it takes training, it takes time. I know that the enemy uses distractions as one of the biggest tactics, right? To divert us from God's plan for us, to keep us in a constant cycle of patterns of notice when you're right near your breakthrough, all of a sudden, all these temptations emerge, all of these different opportunities that you would have gone for like no brainer a few years ago pop up, different things. But now that you have the wisdom, now that you have discernment, you can tell, not the good time. Doesn't mean you're not tempted. Doesn't mean it's not hard, right? But when you are on the narrow road, you just are more self-aware of what could pop up. But to avoid all of those distractions, if you already have that schedule set, if you already have your priorities in line of, in this season, this is what I'm focusing on, and this is what the Lord has me focusing on, then nothing else will really sway you. You'll just acknowledge that as a not now, or a distraction, right? There could be many things that present itself to you that are holy and align with God's kingdom, but that's where even discernment is so important. It's just, is that your kingdom assignment right now? Could that go to another believer? Are we sure that's ours, right? That's why it's so important to just spend our time and our days in the Word and in prayer, because God will give you that peace that surpasses all understanding. And then God is just so good about the things that he speaks into our lives. He knows that we're going to need strength. We're going to need to rely on him, and he'll give us our daily bread. And that's why he needs us to go to him daily, because guess what? Even on our assignments, we're going to get tired. We're going to get lazy. We might be tempted to procrastinate. Guilty. We might be tempted to set it aside and pick up a different project, pick up something else, if we have shiny object syndrome, all of that, not fun, okay? Not fun, but God knows that. And this is why it's imperative that we go to him daily so he can renew our strength. He can give us our daily bread. He can give us a vision again for what he spoke over us. He can speak it again. He can remind you, get you focused, get you on track. You guys, focus is really important. if you're at all going to live the life that you desire to live in the will of God, you need focus. If you struggle with focus, there are things you need to eliminate in your life. It's really spiritual. There's just something in your spirit that is interfering with your connection with God. So I advise just spend extra time in prayer, especially if you feel the most vulnerable right now to attacks of the enemy, because he is coming for everyone that is trying to align themselves with God's will and doing God's work. And so don't be surprised when discouragement comes, all these things start to happen, but we can put on the full armor of God. But some practical things that I just want to say is the obvious is when you wake up, pray over yourself, pray protection over yourself, pray the full armor of God over yourself, and just envision what you want your day to look like. Envision it. Sit with God and ask him, hey, what is today supposed to look like? What am I to focus on today? Where do you want my focus? And throughout your day, just be present and check in with yourself. Hey, have you gotten this done? Sit with God. Pray. Sometimes your day can be so crazy that you just need to realign with God. You just need that peace again, right? Sit down, say, God, my head is spinning. There are a million things going through my head. I have a million tabs open. Help. And he will give you that peace. He will give you clarity. And the more we do this, the more it'll be ingrained in us to seek the Lord when we are distressed, when we are overwhelmed, to seek the Lord for our day, for how we want to map out our day. Because you know what? The Holy Spirit guides us and can change our plans. You know, sometimes we do things without thinking about why we're doing them. And it's not really serving anyone. It's not really helping you out. It's just making you feel good, right? What are we doing that's flesh driven? We need to be more self-aware. We need to invite God into every second of our day. And you don't need to stress yourself out by thinking that, am I going to pray every second? You don't need to pray every second. That's not what I'm saying. Just have your heart and mind attuned to the Spirit of God at all times, even if it's crazy, even if you do have 5 windows with 20 tabs open on each of them. Believe me, I know. You can still have God right there. You can still sit at his feet and just talk to him, get counsel from him. And God is never rushing you, okay? He's speaking things over you because he loves you and he has good will for you. So I really just encourage you guys to start thinking about, how am I starting off my day? How am I thinking when I wake up in the morning? Am I praying over myself? Am I praying protection over my day? Am I asking God what today should look like? Because even if you already have a set schedule, so you work a 9 to 5, there are things that God still directs you in and guides you in. Different methods of doing things. Maybe make a different breakfast. Maybe do your Bible reading after your breakfast. Maybe show up a little early to work and pray over a coworker. Maybe start early on that project and dream with God on how he wants to take that. You know, there are different things. God just wants to be in every part of your day. And the things we can control, like creating our schedule, doesn't mean it's going to live up to the experience we thought it would. It doesn't mean it's going to live up to the experience we created in our head, but God will be with us because he knows our intention is to be with him. He knows that we are setting time aside for him, and we are genuinely asking the Father, hey, how do you want me to steward today? What do you want today to look like? So I hope you got something out of this video. Let me know in the comments if this is something you already do. Do you wake up in the morning praying over yourself, praying protection over your day, speaking to God about what the day is going to look like and what he wants to do? How does your day go? Do you acknowledge the presence of God? Or are you literally taken up by all the emotions of your day, all the stress, all the overwhelm, all the chaos, all the people? It's really good to reflect on this. So I hope you guys have a blessed day, and Give this video a thumbs up again, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.